Seth, I just want to congratulate you on 1,000 subscribers! Yeah! That is so fantastic! Also, thank you for mentioning me in your first video.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 1,000 subscriber special! 1,000 subscribers, huh? That's insane to me. The fact that over 1,000 people have considered my content as worthy enough to subscribe to and tune into their content, and said content is dedicated to talking about the bear game lore, is baffling to me. So, before we begin, I wanted to say thanks to each and every single one of you who have subscribed and watched my videos. It's a dream come true to have a YouTube channel and an audience who are willing to and want to even listen to this random guy talk on the internet. For most of my life, I have always wanted to run a YouTube channel or even a Twitch channel and make whatever content that comes to mind. And the main reason why I never did it sooner was because, well, I had a lot of anxiety growing up. Hence the name. And as such, was afraid of what people would think of me or the things I would have to say. And this anxiety wasn't just for online stuff. It plagued a lot of my life in the second half of high school in a negative way. And it was for this very reason that I wanted to make a channel in the first place. To overcome that fear and get my voice out there, and well, it worked. And I am a lot less fearful of interacting online and interacting socially. But I don't even think I would have even started a YouTube channel if it wasn't for Security Breach getting me back into theorizing and ID's fantasy being a big influence for me to actually create a channel. Back before I made the channel, I had a theory on the identity of Glamrock Freddy, and it wasn't Mike at the time of the video. I believe the popular belief was that he was possessed by his soul, and I figured, why not get my theory out there? And thus, I made my Glam BV video. Yeah, I know, Glam BV, right? I liked the theory at the time, but do I now? No! God, no! I hate that video now! It's so bad on every conceivable level. Do not watch it! Don't you dare! I know you want to now! Anyway, take a look at the thumbnail for it, and look at ID's thumbnail. Can you see the resemblance? Well, no. I can anyway. But anyway, I'll just say thank you guys so much for making this become a reality for me. I want you to know that this generally means so much to me. Your support is appreciated, probably more than you know. But with all that said, let's get into the questions. First up, we've got a question from Melanie Strimbling, I believe. Okay, well, here's a question. What is your favorite FNAF pixelated minigame, if you have any? I think my favorite minigames in FNAF have either got to be the Security Puppet minigame or Midnight Motorists. Well, Midnight Motorists for obvious reasons. Our next question is from Xavery Harwood. What's your favorite animatronic? I think my favorite animatronic in the entire series has either got to be Enid or Glamrock Freddy, or perhaps even Springtrap. Enid because, well, look at my man's design. That is peak design. And Springtrap, well, for the exact same reason, like, Springtrap is so freaking cool. Unfortunately, the guy has had a downgrade in each game that he's always been returning. And Glamrock Freddy because, you know, well, he's just a protective dad. I love that man with all my heart. Next up, we've got a fair few questions from Spring's FNAF Time. Here are my questions for you. When did you find out about FNAF? And how did you find out about FNAF? Well, I found out about FNAF around the time of the first game, even before the second game ever released. The first time I ever heard about it, I believe, was from my sister one day telling me that people were talking about it at school, and I quote said, "That sounds dumb." Wow, look at the irony of that statement. One time I walked into the school library and I saw a group of friends playing the game for the first time, and I'm like, "Oh, what's this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is Five Nights at Freddy's." I'm like, "Hey, this looks pretty cool. I might play it." And thus, my obsession with this franchise began. Which FNAF YouTuber did you watch first? The first YouTuber, I guess a FNAF YouTuber, would be Markiplier. He was the very first YouTuber I ever watched play FNAF, obviously. I think he was the first for most people. And my other YouTubers that I watched first around the time of FNAF 1 through 4 would have been Razbowski, the Ryans, and Dorko in the Theory Thursdays, if any of y'all remember those back in 2015. Man, I miss those times. Why did you decide to make a channel with FNAF theories? Well, I like FNAF, and I thought I had some pretty cool ideas and views on the lore, so I wanted to get them out there. And as I said, it was a way to improve my anxiety, and well, I don't know if you can tell, but my anxiety has definitely improved. You can probably hear a bit of it in the first video. I tried to hide it, but you could probably hear it. What is your favorite FNAF headcanons that you don't think are true, but you love the idea of? I really like the idea of the crying child either being an orphan or a kidnapped child of Afton's. I think that's actually a really interesting idea that I would actually really like to see come into fruition in the actual FNAF narrative, but it's probably not going to be the case, and he is just going to remain Michael's biological little brother. But it doesn't really matter. I think the narrative of the crying child's death being Mike's motivation throughout the entire series is good enough as is. How did you come up with your channel name? Well, I just said before, it's my name, or is it? For you know, my name, it's not even Seth. You never know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Well, it's Seth plus anxiety. Who is your favorite FNAF animatronic? Well, I already answered that question. What is your favorite FNAF game and why? I think my favorite FNAF game has got to be Help Wanted 2, but in the Scott era of FNAF, my favorite game has got to be Sister Location, and I think will always be Sister Location. Why? Well, purely got to do with the fact that it's an actual straightforward narrative in the world of FNAF in the games, and I think it's really interesting and introduces some of my favorite concepts of the franchise, which would have been Remnant. Well, I mean, Remnant was technically introduced in FNAF 6, but it's a present factor in Sister Location as well. And the last question they ask is, what is your core FNAF memory, as in the one that out of all FNAF memories you remember the strongest or hold most to the heart? I think the memory that comes to my head most often, not most often, but always comes back every once in a while, is reacting to Razbowski's video on FNAF 4 Night 6, where he's getting emotional over the minigame of how Fredbear was apologizing to Crying Child, which obviously it's not Fredbear, but you know, we'll probably talk about that in a future video. And well, the video got me emotional too, lol. But another core memory I think would probably be playing Sister Location for the first time, as it was the first FNAF game I played blind, and I actually think I played every other FNAF game blind going forward. Actually, that's a lie. I didn't have a VR headset for Help Wanted, so I obviously couldn't have played that game blind. But I did play Help Wanted 2 blind. We've got a bunch of questions from Solid. I'm curious what your take on certain character personalities are. And the first one is our good old favorite antagonist, William Afton. Did he care about his kids at one point? Was he always a cruel man, and why did he kill Charlie? I personally believe that he did not care for his children whatsoever. In the games, he never shows any remorse for what he put his own children through, and even saying how killing Mike was easier than he thought it would be. Even in the novels, he treats Elizabeth like crap, slaps her drawing away when she tries to show him to get some love and approval from her father, and even as a spirit-haunted baby, he does not view her as enough. Even in the film, he just uses Vanessa and stabs her without any hesitation, so yeah, I do not think that he cared about his children at all. He was just a very cruel man. And as for why I believe he killed Charlie, I believe that was just purely out of a jealous rage at Henry for being able to create the characters that were more lifelike than his, and being able to pour his life into the actual characters and bring joy to children, which is something that William is just purely incapable of doing. So as such, he decided to take away the light in Henry's life, which was Charlie. Next up is Michael Afton. Is he the good reflection of his father? Is he a hero or just a victim? Is he guilt-stricken from 1983, or does he lie to himself saying it's not his fault? I'm not sure about the good reflection part, but I do think that he was a victim of William's abuse throughout his life. I would even say that I believe before Michael went into Sister Location, I believe Mike may have even helped William in some way, simply because of the abuse and manipulation William would have had over Mike. While I don't think Mike knew how evil his dad was in the beginning, as I don't think Mike would help William if he did, but he found out about the truth of everything in Sister Location, and he then vows to undo what William has done and bring an end to his father. So I do think that Mike may have been an accomplice to some degree in the story, but I think when he comes to learn of what William truly is and what he's done, that he becomes somewhat of a hero. I believe he is 100% guilt-stricken by the death of his brother. I believe it is his primary motivation throughout the series, so he can reconcile and forgive himself for the death of his brother, which if Mike and Garrett in the movie are Aftons, then Mike's story is almost exactly what we see in the games. Finding out who took his brother and the guilt he has for not being able to save him is his motivation throughout the movie. I would even say that it is his guilt in the games which William used to manipulate Mike into helping him and leading him down into this location. And the next character on the list is Henry Emily. Was he an innocent man who got unlucky getting close to William? Did Charlie die because of his neglect? And is he the ray of sun that the fandom seems to think he is? While Henry isn't exactly a bad guy, I don't think he is free from criticisms either. Well, for starters, if you take his characterization in the novels, Henry isn't really a good father. After the death of Charlie, he was completely grief-stricken, which resulted in him creating the Charlie bots and consuming himself into his work to bring her back, which essentially resulted in him abandoning his own son and wife. He becomes so mad that it forces his son and wife to leave him, and even when he does click and realize how far he lost himself, he abandons the Charlie bots, which essentially have souls of their own that Henry created, and he decides to burn the 4th Charlie bot, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know if that's actually what happened, I might be lying. And he asks Aunt Jen to destroy the others, leaving Aunt Jen and Charlie alone after he unalived himself. While this is in the book's version of him, some of this is seen in the games. He created the puppet, in my opinion, to look after and protect his daughter because he was busy at work, and because he was too neglectful to look after his daughter, and as such, it resulted in bullies locking her outside and her death. While William was responsible for her death, and Henry got unlucky because of who William was, I also think that because he brought his own daughter to work and he didn't look after her while he was at Fredbear's, it is somewhat his fault that Charlie died, but you are welcome to see it your way as well. This is my perspective on Henry. And there's a couple other characters that they also wish me to talk about, so let's go into Elizabeth. I don't really have a lot to say that hasn't already been said about these guys, but Elizabeth, in my opinion, is a neglected daughter who always seeks love and appreciation of her father. In the 4th closet, we get an insight into her character, and the reason why she went up to Baby is because she wanted to understand why her father focused his attention and care for the animatronic more than her. She even attempts to look more like Baby to receive the love that he seemed to have for Baby. Even as Scrap Baby, she still wants that love William never gave her, which is why she plans to kill the kids in the pizzeria in FNAF 6 to make him proud. Elizabeth is a victim of neglect and abuse, who longed for the love of her father, a father who lacked the capacity to love. And may I add, how the fandom demonizes her because of this is incredibly distasteful. As for Charlie, I don't have too much to say, but in the games at the very least, she is someone who wants to help. She is a kind, caring, and selfless person who has a massive capability for compassion, putting others before herself. She helps the MCI kids and devotes her life to protecting them, even if in doing so, it only results in making their lives and torment worse. What makes her role in the story so much more twisted is the fact that even though she is the most aware out of every other spirit and is their guardian, she's just a 3-year-old child who is only doing what she knows is best. Sorry if my insight into her character is lackluster. As for Cassidy, I don't think she is as vengeful as people make her out to be. Everything that we've seen of her shows that she wants to help her friends, to help other lost spirits, to kill Afton and allow her friends, the MCI, to move on in their happiest day. A lot of people will say that she is the vengeful spirit, and while I see why people believe that, and I think it would make her character more compelling if she was, I think that her being the vengeful spirit contradicts her character that has been established throughout the series, and even goes against the themes of the story of keeping the pain of the past alive, which only leads to more pain and suffering down the road. So her keeping Afton alive in a perpetual nightmare, I think personally would not be a good ending for her, though I am not opposed to the idea if it turns out that she is the vengeful spirit. And now for the crying child. He cries because he saw something. There's not really much to talk about his character other than that, well, in the games anyway. Though, I think he is important for the spirits in Happiest Day. Now, here's a question from Benny. Man, your theories, ideas are wild, man. But hey, here's my questions. What's your favorite book in the FNAF media? I think my favorite book would probably have to be The Silver Eyes. And, you know, probably Bunny Call, because it's got the man in room 1280 and I love that story. But speaking of Fazbear Fright stories, what are your favorite story in Tales from the Pizzaplex and Fazbear Frights? My favorite story in Frights has got to be The Man in Room 1280. but Coming Home and The Real Drake are also up there. They're probably my top 3 stories. As for my favorites from Tales from the Pizzaplex, that would have to be either The Mimic or Dittophobia. Dittophobia for obvious reasons. Your favorite book human character? Probably Charlie from the novel trilogy. I know she technically isn't a human, she's a robot, but hush, hush. And to finish, what's your MBTI? Just curious. I am an INFJ, which, for those who don't know, an MBTI is an assortment of personality traits that someone would have, their personality type. And an INFJ is an advocate, and it stands for introverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging traits. So yep, that's who I am, and apparently it's one of the rarest personality types, so that's pretty cool. And from Sonic Mid, congratulations man, you deserve it. I guess questions. What do you think are the characters at Fall Fest? I think maybe Baby, because, you know, her name's Circus Baby, but at the same time, I feel like Baby would have been created around the time of 83, 84-ish, so I don't really see her being there, but I don't know, she could be there, who knows. I also think that these guys that released a few years back will probably also show up in the game. We'll have to wait and see if Fall Fest even is going to be a game. I also think that Balloon Boy, that little goober, was there. Funtime Foxy, and maybe the Nightmare costumes for the Halloween attractions. The Mimic could have also been there, but that's depending on which Fall Fest you're talking about. I personally think the Mimic was made in 84, 85, judging by what the story of the Mimic tells us. I know the story probably implies at the late 70s or early 80s, but that's probably a typo. I mean, like, the FNAF books have a fair few mistakes, which, I mean, they really need to get on top of that. It's actually kind of embarrassing how many punctuation and spelling errors you might find in these books. But yeah, considering the fact that Edwin is creating characters for Fazbear Entertainment for all of their restaurants, I would say that Freddy's is a pizza chain by this point, which would have happened in 83 to 85. So take that as you will. What's your favorite game? As I said before, my favorite game would be Hub Wanted 2. Do you think it's possible that Mango and BB were in the 85 location? I do think it's probably possible, but from what we've seen, I highly doubt it. What's your favorite set of animatronics? I think my favorite ones are either the Funtime animatronics and the Glam Rocks. I just really like the designs of these characters. They're cool. What's an animatronic you're really excited to see in the second movie? I'm really looking forward to seeing how to do Mangle. Like, is this creature going to be hanging from the ceiling at some point, walking across the ceiling? And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the puppet looks like, because obviously the puppet surely has to be in the movie, right? We've got another question from Infallible Pizza. Hey, congrats on almost 1K. My question is, what is your favorite story in general and why? Can it be a movie, video, game, book series, etc.? My favorite story of all time has got to be Attack on Titan. Oh my god, you don't understand how much I adore this series. It's just so goddamn good. The themes, characters, the story, the twists and turns, just everything about it. It's all perfectly planned out for the most part. I don't think I've actually been able to watch much that's really topped it for me personally. I'm gonna have to rewatch that anime one day. I don't know. I might make a video about Attack on Titan one day, analyzing the characters, the themes, the ending, or the main character, my man Eren Yeager. Who knows? If you guys are interested in that, let me know down in the comments. And our last comment is from Mr. TP. Please keep going. I think you will have a lot of potential as a FNAF creator. I was your 917th subscriber. Well, thanks for subscribing first of all. Like I said before, it's wild that you guys actually want to listen to me talk, but I have no intentions of stopping, and I hope I can just continue to grow as a creator. And I'm looking forward to seeing how far I come, and I'm looking forward to seeing how my videos evolve over time. Who knows, maybe I'll have more content to just FNAF in the future, but we'll see. But that's it. That's all of the comments from you guys. That's all of the questions. That's a wrap on the video. But before we go, like I said before, thank you guys so much for the support on the videos, for subscribing, liking, commenting, all of that. Thank you. It's really appreciated. My next video, I'm planning on working on the Glitch Bear video. And as a bit of a teaser, it's going to be dedicated to Glitch Bear Afton. I know a lot of people are probably opposed to that idea, but I think it works really well narratively. And it ties together with the Bite Victim and Happiest Stay really well as well. We'll see how that turns out. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to follow me, I do have a Twitter you can follow me on. So you're free to follow me there if you would like. If you enjoyed this video or any of the other videos that you've watched in the past, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and liking the video. It's very much appreciated. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!